Hi friends, welcome to QX Technologies. This is Mahesh. So in the previous videos, we discussed different types of functions in Kotlin, right? We discussed a normal function, what is single expression, okay? A function with named arguments, default arguments, what is varargs extension, infix, local, tailrec. So we discussed about all these functions we discussed in the previous videos. So in this video, we'll discuss one important concept, that is higher order functions and Lambda expression in Kotlin. Okay, so this is one of the most important concept, and many places we use this higher order functions and lambdas in the application development. Okay, so let's see what is higher order function. What is meant by higher order function? So what is higher order function is a function which accepts other function as a parameter or return the function. So what is higher order function means? A function which accepts the other function as a parameter. So we know till now we created many functions which accepts the data type as a parameter, right? Or you can take an object as a parameter, any user defined class as a parameter. Okay, but I mean in Java it's not possible. We don't have this option. I mean, some people will claim that indirectly you can send, okay, but directly you cannot pass a function as an input parameter. But in Kotlin, we have this concept called higher order function, where you can send the function as a parameter to the function, or a function can return a function. So that kind of functions are called as higher order function. But directly, if you see an example for higher order functions, it's difficult to understand. Okay, that's why to make it simple, first we have to understand what is anonymous function. What is anonymous function we have to understand first. Then you have to understand what is lambda expression in Kotlin you have to understand. So after understanding of these two, then only you can understand what is higher order function. Directly if you start the discussion on this without knowing these two concepts, it's very difficult. Okay, so you feel like higher order function means it's a rocket science. No, it's very simple concept if you know these two. Okay, so let's see. First, we'll see what is anonymous function. So if you remember the syntax of creating a function, so how we'll create a function by using the fun keyword. What is the function name and what are the input parameters, right? Like parameter 1, parameter 2, like that, and we'll mention the data type. Okay. Next, if the function is having any return type, so you can put colon and you can specify the return data type. So this is the function declaration. So we've seen in the previous videos, so how to create this function. And here the function body. So what is anonymous function means? A function with no identifier. So what is anonymous function means? A function with no identifier is called as anonymous function. So a function with no identifier is called as anonymous function. So meaning, see here we'll create a function like this, right? Okay, so we'll create a function like this, right? So here anonymous function means we will not specify any name to the function. So these type of functions are called as anonymous function. So simply use fun and you can specify like this. So there is no name. We have not given any name to the function. So that kind of functions, we call it as an anonymous function. So quickly, we'll see an example for this anonymous function. Okay. So let's open our IntelliJ IDE. So if you don't know how to create the Kotlin project in IntelliJ and all, so refer our first Hello World application. In that video, I explained how to create this Kotlin project and all. Okay. So this is our existing project, Kotlin practice. Let's open the project. Okay. So under our Kotlin, I'm creating one new file, new Kotlin class or file. I'm creating a file name called higher order functions test. Higher order functions test. So I want to create a file, not a class. Okay, let's remove it. So I want to run this program. So let's create a main method. So I want to run this program. Let's create a main method. Just to demonstrate a normal function, I'm creating one method I'm creating called doSum. Okay, which accepts two parameter as an input. Inside the function, just I want to print that values. For example, addition of x plus y. Okay, so this is a normal member function. Okay, it's not an anonymous function, just a normal function. So we created one function we created, and you know how to call this function. So simply you can call a doSum and pass the two parameters. I'm passing 12, 8. Okay, so let's run this application. So what kind of function this one is? It's a member function. Okay, so you got the output addition of 12 and 8 is 20. So this is normal a member function. So as per our discussion, an anonymous function is a function with no identifier, right? A function with no identifier is called as anonymous function. Okay. Now I want to create another method I want to create for doing the subtraction. So subtraction of x and y is x minus y. But this is also a member function, right? So to create an anonymous function, I'm removing this identifier. So this is anonymous function. Okay, but it's giving error, right? As per my explanation, a function with no identifier is called as anonymous function. But if you're when you remove the function name, it's giving a exception. It's given. Why it's giving an exception is the anonymous functions you cannot create under a class directly or under a file. Okay, the anonymous functions declaration should be inside another function. Okay, so here you cannot write it here. Let's remove from here. I mean, you can make it like a local function. Local function means you know already. If you create a function inside another function, that kind of functions we call it as local function. So anonymous functions you cannot create as a member function. So you can create as a local function. Okay. See now I created this anonymous function inside the main method. So now this will be a local function, right? It's not giving any error now. You can see it's not giving any error. It's accepting. But how you will call this function? How you will call this function if it is something like this? The function name is there. a function name is there, then you can call the local function like this. You can call 12 comma 2. Okay, so if it is a local function, we'll call like this. But now it's an anonymous function, right? It's an anonymous function. How we will call this function now? There is no name. So how we will call this function? So so anonymous functions, what you can do is you can create one reference, like here, same like how we'll create for variable, same like that. I'm creating one. I'm holding into one reference. Okay, so now this do sub is not a variable, not like variable like int or string or something. It is a function. If you want, you can mention, just for idea I'm giving. Okay, so do sub is not a data type here, it is a function. Okay, now if you want to call, you can call the function do sub. Okay, so let's run the program. We can see the output. So two important things you have to remember here. What is anonymous function? A function with no identifier is called as anonymous function, and anonymous functions cannot be created as a member function. So it should be as a local function. So local function means a function inside another function. Just I'm repeating 2 to 3 times. Some people that like and some people don't like. But if you repeat, why I'm repeating 2 3 times is it's easy to remember. That's why I'm repeating. Okay, fine. So we created an anonymous function. We created. Next, same anonymous function we can represent in a different way. Also, you can represent. So we'll see what is that approach. Just copy. So you cannot use the same name inside a function. So I'm giving a different name. I'm giving. Okay, do sub one and do sub one. Just I change the reference name variable name. Now here, the same function, anonymous function, you can represent in the form of lambda. See, lambda expression in Java is different. Lambda expression in Kotlin is different. In Java, lambda expressions you can use only for the functional interfaces, meaning an interface which contains only one abstract function. Okay, so that kind of interfaces we call it as a functional interfaces. And in Java, lambdas are used only for the functional interfaces. But here in Kotlin, the meaning of lambda is different. Okay, so in Kotlin, the lambda expression means a simplified representation of anonymous function is lambda expression. I'm repeating again, a simplified, okay, representation of anonymous function is lambda expression in Kotlin. Okay, so if you want to know more about lambda expressions in Java, I will give one link in this video on the top, so that you can go through that link, so to get a more idea on the lambda expressions. Okay, so now if you don't want to see the Java, I want to continue with the Kotlin. So it's very simple. In Kotlin, a simplified representation of anonymous function is lambda expression. Okay, so how we'll simplify it, let's see. Here you can remove this fun, opening and closing of the parenthesis. Let's move these parameters from outside to inside the closing, opening and closing of the bracket. Then give an arrow mark like this. Okay, so what we did, so earlier like this. Okay, so now to represent the anonymous function as a lambda expression, you can remove this fun, the function declaration. You can remove it, and whatever the parameters, the input parameters for the function, those parameters move inside the body, meaning move inside this opening and closing of the bracket. Okay, to separate the parameters and body, see, this is, if you write like this, it will be it's difficult to compiler also to understand. If you write like this everything, it's difficult compiler also to understand what is the input parameters and what is a function body. That's why to separate the input parameters and function body in the middle, the parameters and the function body, we use this hyphen and greater than. So this symbol is called as lambda expression. Okay, so hope you understand what is anonymous function and what is lambda expression. Okay, let's see now, just to make it difference. I'm passing 100, 1. Let's run the program and see the output. Okay, so this is anonymous function, execution of anonymous function, this one. This output is an execution of the lambda expression. So now hope you got an idea what is anonymous functions and what is lambda expression. Now let's start the actual topic. What is the actual topic is higher order function. So higher order function is a function which accepts the other function as a parameter or return a function. So that kind of functions are called as higher order function. So let's see an example for the higher order function. Okay, again in the higher order function, I'll explain you in a two ways I'll explain. I mean, like, one example we'll see how to accept a function as a parameter. Next we'll see one more example how to return a function. Okay, so here I'm creating one function. I'm creating, let's take do arithmetic operations is a function. Okay, so I want to make this function as a higher order function. Means it can accept a function as a parameter or it can return as a function as a parameter. Now we'll see first how to accept the function as a parameter. So if it is a data type, you know how you'll mention. So if you want to accept one int as a data type, we'll write like this, x int. So y int, like that we'll mention if it is a data types. But now we want to accept a function, right? Okay, let's take, I'm giving a name to the parameter, same like how we did previously x, y, like that. I'm giving one name, a variable name for this parameter. Let's take arith oper is a variable name. So what is the type you'll mention here? What's the type you'll mention? You don't need to mention any type. Okay, you no need to mention any type. So directly specify opening and closing of the bracket. If you have any input parameters to that function, so you can give a input parameters here. Let's take, I want to take two input parameters, x int, and you need to mention what is the return type of that function. Okay, so return type, if it is a normal function, or otherwise to make it simple, I'll do one thing. So my requirement is I want to accept one function as an input which accepts two parameters. One is a int value, the other one is also int value. The return type of that function is empty, meaning it's not returning anything. That's why we'll specify unit. Meaning, as per my knowledge, if you want to take other function as an input, so we had to write like this. I'm assuming the syntax will be like this. Okay, but if you want to make it as a higher order function, the syntax is not like this. So you had to give a name for the function, like reference, same like how we'll do reference variable. To access the variable inside a function, we'll give a reference, right? Same like that here. For function also, you had to give a name. Okay, I'm giving a name called arith operation. This is the name of the function. So if you want to accept the function as a parameter, you no need to specify the function declaration also, no need to specify. Remove the fun keyword also. Okay, we already using this colon here as a separator for the name. Okay, so we cannot use it again, so it will be a conflict to the compiler. So that's why to specify the return type you use this lambda here. So what is the meaning of this statement is, this do arithmetic operation function is taking another function as an input. So that function is taking two parameters as an input. The output of that function is empty, nothing. Okay, so let's see here. Inside the function, what I'm doing is I'm calling that function, that's it. Arithmetic operation. Okay, just I'm calling a function. So whatever the input we are getting, that function I'm calling here. Okay, so now what you can do is, so this do arithmetic operations here, you can pass a function as an input, right? What I see here, I'm passing this do arithmetic operations is a function, correct? This do arithmetic operations is a function. To this function, I am passing another function as an input. You can see I am passing this do sub 1. What is this do sub 1? Do sub 1 is also a function, right? So for one function, I am passing another function as an input. So these kind of functions are called as higher order function. So accepting a function as a parameter. Okay, so this is an example for higher order function accepting the function as a parameter. See here, which function we are passing here? Do subtraction. So it has to call this function because inside this method we are calling this function. So whatever the function you are passing, that function will be executed. Let's see here. So 5 minus 5, it has to print the result as 0. Let's run the application. Subtraction of 5 and 5 is 0. Okay, so like this you can pass any function here. So what I'm doing is here, I'm creating another method. I'm creating like do multiplication. Okay, just we created a function, but we don't want to call this function. Okay, we will pass this function as an input to the other function. So there the function will be executed. There the function will call. Okay, so here let's run the program. So we got multiplication of 5 and 5 is 25. Okay, so where you can see these kind of functions in our Android application development is, you created a button, for example, dot set on click listener. Okay, so inside the on click listener, whatever the function you are passing, that function will be called when you click the button, right? That function we will not call. We will not call that function. We will send that function. We will send to the this on click listener function we will send. So whenever that button is clicked, at that time, the function, whatever the function we given as an input, that function will be called. Okay, with an example, I explained with the arithmetic operations, but if you relate this one with the Android, you can see set on click listener is the best example for higher order function. So we are passing one function. That function we will not call. Who will call that function? When the button is clicked, at that time the function will be called. So you are sending there a function as an input, right? So that kind of functions are called as higher order functions. So this is higher order function accepting function as a parameter. Now we'll see the another example, a higher order function which returns the function. So return function as an output. So return function as an output. Okay, we want to create one function we want to create which returns a function. Okay, so here just I'm giving a renaming it, do arithmetic operations 1. So here we want to return a function here, right? Okay, if we want to return, first I'll remove all these input parameters. Let's clear the code first. Now this function don't have any input parameters, don't have any return type. Okay, now we want to return one function as an output. Fine. So return fun. So here I'm returning a function I'm returning here. Okay, just for the demonstration, what we will do is I'm taking two parameters as an input, two numbers I'll get as an input. Y is also integer type. Inside the function body, I want to give a print ln. Okay, here giving division of x and $y is x by y. Fine. So we are returning one function we are returning here. Okay, and this function is taking two parameters as an input, but as of now we have not given any return type. Correct? So how we'll specify the return type? Return type of this function is function. Return type of this function is a function. If it is a normal data type, you'll mention like this. Return type is an int, the return type is a float, like that. But here, return type is a function. So you cannot mention like this. Function also you cannot mention like this. Okay. So this is also one way, but we cannot mention like this. Like we had to mention exactly what is the body of the function. Is it taking a function? Is taking any inputs? So those kind of thing you have to mention. So how we'll specify the return type of that function is colon. Same how we use lambda. In that way, you have to specify. Is it the function is taking any input parameters? No, it's not taking any inputs. Next. So return type of that function is unit. Right? So what is the return type of that function? Return type of that function is a unit type. So meaning it's not returning any value, it is not returning. So this is a higher order function which is not accepting any function as a parameter, but it is returning another function as an output. It is returning another function as an output. So now what I'm doing here is call this do arithmetic operations 1. Do arithmetic operations 1. Okay, I'm passing two numbers. Let's take 4 by 2. So we have to pass 4 comma 2. Okay, so if I call this function, I'm going to get some output, right? Return type I'm going to get, right? What is the return value I'm going to get as a function? So to print that value, because somewhere we have to hold to print, right? Or otherwise, okay, let's see. I'm taking a val because it's not a modified, just I want to hold as a reference. Let's take 2 division. Okay. Now what I'm doing is here, println, just put dollar, just 2 division. Okay. Let's run the program and see the output. See, this is division, 2 division. We got the output as a function. See, return type of this method we got as a function we got. Okay. But now what you had to do is you had to call this function. See, return type of this function, you got this function you got. But you had to call this function. So then you will get this output you will get. Right? So what you had to do is return type of this function is a function. So called do division of. So meaning we are calling the function. Correct? So here, when you call this function, we got the function as an output. We are holding that function in this variable. But when this function will be executed, when you call this function, then that function will be executed. Now, when you call this one, this function will execute now. Okay. So till now, this function is not executed. You got this function, whole function as an output, and it's holding in this variable. But when this function will be called, so we had to call explicitly, you had to call this function. Okay. Now you can see the output, you will get the division value, you will get. Okay, so division of 4 and 2 is 2. Okay, so this is the higher order functions and lambda expressions. Okay, so in many places Android application development we use this lambdas and higher order functions. So directly we'll mention, like, if you don't know what is this lambdas and what is higher order, what is anonymous functions, it's very difficult for you to understand the Android application development. That's why before starting our application development, I'm making you clear all the concepts of Kotlin. So practice well. If you are strong with Kotlin concepts, then only you can understand our Android application development with Kotlin codes. Otherwise, it's a difficult to understand. Blindly, you had to by heart. Okay, button means OnClickListener means you had to pass like this, but you don't know how you are passing, why you are passing like that. Okay, and many 90% of the developers are like that only, but they are surviving. Okay, I don't want to talk anything about that. Okay, fine. So hope you understand what is higher order functions, lambdas, and anonymous function. uh, the next concept is inline function. So inline function is nothing but higher order functions. Only thing is, when you are using this lambdas and higher order functions, there is some memory related issues. There are memory related issues. So to overcome that, so these higher order functions will be declared with inline functions. So I don't want to confuse much about the inline function. It's very simple. So internally, when you're using this lambdas and higher order functions, there are some memory related issues. To overcome that memory related issues, the Kotlin is providing the inline function. Okay, just before the function will declare with inline keyword. Just remember till that is sufficient. Okay, so we covered all the types of functions we covered in Kotlin. So hope you also understand all these type of functions. If you have any queries related to functions, please mention in the comment section. I'll try to reply. Okay. So thanks for watching. So we'll see the constructors in the next video. So if you are not subscribed, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you.